is the cleanest of clean finishers from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. It's ZiFM Sport on a Tuesday evening. We call it Topic Tuesday right here. And I'm joined by some of the smartest minds in Zimbabwean sport. I certainly feel smarter when I interact with this team. They are Mike Madoda, Chris Midzi, Alois Bunjira, Shonta Firenyika. I'm just here for the ride. My name is Barry Manandi, and it's going to be a wild ride because there's lots to get through. On the home front, Zimbabwe head coach Lalchand Rajput, well, he'll miss the Pakistan tour after his side arrived in Islamabad today without him. In international sports news, we have our staple, which is the Formula One report, which is proudly brought to you by Zamoko. Racing Point's Andrew Green says that in the fight for position number 3, P3, in the Constructors' Championship, Renault has a trump card in Daniel Ricciardo.
As usual, we'll take you around the world in 60, starting in London, where limited overs captain Owen Morgan has said England's players can withdraw from tours if they feel playing in biosecure bubbles during the COVID-19 pandemic will take a toll on their mental health. In news from Dublin, Ireland will be able to resume their Six Nations campaign against Italy on Saturday after the Irish government exempted elite sport from the new coronavirus rules. And we'll touch down in Basel, Switzerland, where push to rename Basel's main sports arena after local tennis superstar Roger Federer fell through after it failed to garner enough signatures.
The second half of the show is always the beautiful game. We'll wrap up action in the Premier League where Wolves snatched all 3 points against Leeds as Raul Jimenez deflected second half effort gave them a 1-0 victory at Elland Road. In Ligue 1, Tino Kadewere was delighted to score his first goal for French top flight side Olympique Lyon in their 3-2 away win against Strasbourg at the Stade de la Minot to end their 5-game winless streak. And the new season of the UEFA Champions League kicks off tonight as a massive showdown awaits Manchester United when they visit the Parc des Princes to take on last season's runners-up, Paris Saint-Germain.
But first, and as always, it is our power play. Today we call upon Q. This one's featuring Nana Atta, Mapincha, and Carrie-Anne Soul. This one's called Night Vision.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
It's fun and informative to interact with you on social media. So why don't you follow at ZiFM Sport, and in our individual capacities, it's at Shonta Firenyika, at Mike Madoda, at Chris Midzi, at Gazaman14 for Alois Bunjira, and at Mark Pozzo. I'm on at Barry Manandi. Right, let's dive into it. On the home front, we said we're talking cricket and talking about Zimbabwe's head coach Lalchand Rajput, and he will miss the Pakistan tour after his side arrived in Islamabad today without him. The Embassy of India in Harare wrote to the Zimbabwe cricket asking that Rajput, who is an Indian national, be exempted from visiting Pakistan for the limited overs tour in accordance with the travel guidelines stipulated by the government of India for its citizens. We caught up with former Zimbabwe chess player and cricket pundit Dirk Viljoen, and we asked him what kind of impact Rajput's absence will have on the team.
The announcement that Coach Rajput cannot travel to Pakistan would affect the squad and their preparation for the upcoming One Day and 2020 series. But I think when you reach a professional level is that the players will realize that there's nothing that they can do and they need to get on with it. Obviously the planning of how it was going to turn out does put a little bit of change of focus within their minds. But the point is that the coach missing out on a small little tour, I don't think is really going to make or break how the tour goes.
All right, so the embassy of Pakistan in Harare had issued Rajput with his visa, so we can put that to one side. But there is a bit of a travel warning for Indian citizens, and the embassy requesting that Rajput stay put, Mike.
Barry, I think it's a testament to the very frosty relationship between India and Pakistan. And Lalchand Rajput is the unfortunate victim, or is the man that's caught in the middle of those famous or famously belligerent Indo-Pakistan relations that we have seen, of course, since the Indian subcontinent split into two at first with India and Pakistan, and then later into three with Bangladesh, of course, which was known as East Pakistan back in the day. So there are two nations without any love whatsoever for each other. And this is shown on a global stage by the fact that no Pakistani players are participating in the IPL, and that we rarely ever get India touring Pakistan or vice versa. So this is what's playing out, Barry, in the sporting arena. Unfortunately, Lalchand Rajput is caught in the middle, and Zimbabwe cricket is powerless to stop it.
You see, I told you, I always feel smarter when I interact with the ZiFM sport team. Right there, you got a free geography, history lesson, as well as sport in just one nice, neat package. Thank you very much, Mike.
I went to Jameson High School, Barry.
Okay, don't let it get to your head, though. Okay. So, Chris, with that nice summary that Mike has just given us, it means that Rajput won't be there, but certainly we know he's going to be in communication with the team. The man who has been appointed to fill in those shoes, those very big shoes, is Dougie Hondo, who's of course Zimbabwe's bowling coach. He's got a big task on his hands because this tour is Zimbabwe's already on the back foot. Now without their coach, it's mission improbable, possibly even mission impossible.
It's definitely a very big task for Douglas Hondo. I think when you're going into a situation like this where your team hasn't had any action in over 7 months, so you've already got issues around preparation, you've already got issues around the type of team that you're going up against. We haven't played very well. I think historically we haven't done very well against Pakistan. So you're going into that situation and the head coach is also not there, and you have to step into those shoes. I think he's got very big shoes to fill, but my hope is that Lalchand Rajput was still able to come up with some strategies and tactics that'll be able to assist him on the ground, and I'm sure they'll be in communication, but it's still major shoes to fill, especially in such a high pressure scenario.
Yeah, Chris, they're telling us about the inactivity of the Chevrons, and they'll clash in 3 one-day internationals and as many T20 internationals from October the 30th through to November the 10th. And critical to all of this is that the one-day international series carries significance because it forms part of the inaugural ICC Super League, which will determine teams that will qualify for the next World Cup in India. My God, Michael. It's a important, phenomenally important tour, and here we are undercooked.
Yeah, undercooked, but to be honest, I think you can't blame Zimbabwe cricket for that. You can't blame anyone for the COVID-19 pandemic. Zimbabwe cricket has tried to pull out all the stops to try and give our boys preparation. The launch of the NPL, where some of them got game time, if not all of them got game time. I think that was them just trying to make an effort to make sure that at least our boys went in having played a bit of cricket. Pakistan themselves, Barry, we know that they toured England, very successful tour by any measure. They got to play Test cricket, got to play one-day international cricket and T20 cricket as well. So they have had a lot of cricket. They've also had plenty of cricket on the domestic scene as well. And if you take a look at the squad that they have selected, they've gone full strength. So Babar Azam is there, Shadab Khan is there. You got the likes of Fakhar Zaman, he's in that squad. Haris Sohail is in that squad. Haris Rauf is in that squad. So they've gone with the top players. Why? Because of what you mentioned, the fact that points from victories or from performances in this particular series versus Zimbabwe are all contributing to qualification for the next World Cup. So Pakistan is taking this seriously. Zimbabwe needs to do the same thing as well. We're going to have to fight. We're going to have to try and get something on the board in Pakistan. It's going to be awfully difficult, Barry, because I think when you compare our players, man-to-man, on paper, we are hopelessly outclassed. We're also playing in foreign conditions. A lot of our lads have never played on the subcontinent in those conditions in Pakistan. So it's a tough ask for Zimbabwe, especially now when you add in the fact that Lalchand Rajput is going to be missing.
Well, I think, Chris, we've won the first battle, haven't we? The dressing stakes, because we saw them at the airport resplendent in their grey suits. So we've got one victory, and we'll certainly take that in terms of our dressing. Unfortunately, in that lineup, I didn't see a sports psychologist. Sorely needed one, but we don't have one. We just say all the best to the boys and hope for the best, don't we?
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport. Z.
Your local sports news roundup starting with rugby, where Zimbabwe-born Dave Ewers won the European Cup Rugby Championship with his club Exeter Chiefs, who defeated French club Racing 92-31-21 at the weekend. Ewers is a former Hillcrest School student, and his former school congratulated one of their own and said he'll do even better in future. Ewers is capable of playing both flank and eighth man and is known for his destructive ball carrying and exceptional defensive capabilities. Talking about rugby, we would like to send our heartfelt condolences after the passing on of Garikai Benura, the former Zimbabwe international and former Jameson High School student who was employed in the tobacco industry. We say rest in peace and Sinemetu. Moving on to golf news. After the demise of the Airport Airways chip and putt 9-hole golf course due to viability challenges, Royal Harare will soon introduce a new 6-hole par 3 links course. The 6-hole layout, a first of its kind in Zimbabwe, will provide hours of fun for Royal members and visitors. Ian Matheson, the general manager of Royal Harare, said the move will bring a challenging and exciting new golfing experience. And we're rounded up in the Castle Premier Soccer League. The Premier Soccer League has revealed plans for a 2-week bubble that will be fully sponsored by ZiFM when domestic football returns with a mini-league towards the end of the year. The league's chairman, Farai Jere, yesterday said the Secretariat and the Medical Committee will work around the clock on the budgets and logistics to ensure a safe return to football. Football, which has been suspended for 7 months under the coronavirus lockdown measures, was given the green light to resume by government under strict conditions late last week.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play. From sunny Melbourne to the streets of Monaco, the deserts of Bahrain to the jungles of Brazil, get up to speed on the Formula One Report. The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimoco, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimoco, specialized service for special brands.
Now, if you didn't know, Zimoco is more than just Mercedes. It's also about vehicles like the Mitsubishi, which has made some revisions across the Triton double cab range with an emphasis on improved off-road capability. If you like scrabbling up steep, rocky inclines and forging through creek beds and deep gorges, then the Mitsubishi Triton double cab is definitely the vehicle for you.
At the core of the new Triton is the combination of a refined and super responsive 2.4-litre double overhead camshaft Mavic engine and Mitsubishi's unique Super Select 2 four-wheel drive system. An aluminium cylinder block and strong yet lightweight materials, reducing weight, and with a compression ratio of 15:5:1, it's among the quietest and most efficient diesel engines on the market, contributing to better torque and speed power across the entire rev range. Peak power is a 133 kilowatts at 3.5 RPM, while torque is an impressive 430 Newton meters at 2.5 RPM across both manual and automatic transmission models. The lightweight engine achieves a low fuel consumption while also delivering the outstanding power output. ISG.
Now, with the option of full-time four-wheel drive, high and low range with center diff lock and selectable two-wheel drive, the Super Select 2 four-wheel drive system on the Mitsubishi Triton will give you more control in bad weather or on difficult terrain. Two-wheel drive high range is best used for normal road conditions and for fuel efficiency. The full-time four-wheel drive is ideal for rough roads and hazardous conditions. And I guess, Barry, that would be the one that you'd be picking.
Yes, indeed. That would be the one I'll be picking because rough roads and hazardous conditions are pretty much everywhere you look. Now, the four-wheel drive high range with locked center differential is used when driving on rugged terrain with low grip surfaces, and the four-wheel drive low range with locked center differential provides maximum traction for steep hills and sand. Stay tuned for so much more.
Z.
Let's get into the Formula One news proper. And the news is that Racing Point's Andrew Green says that in the fight for position 3 in the Constructors' Championship, Renault has a trump card in Daniel Ricciardo. Racing Point is currently leading the fight, but Renault is just 6 points behind and is the informed team after finishing on the podium in Germany, courtesy of Ricciardo. At the same race, Nico Hülkenberg stood in for Lance Stroll and finished in position 8. While technical director Green feels the German was excellent, he says that losing a regular driver hurts the team, especially when rivals have such a strong one. And that's what Formula One has been reduced to, isn't it, Chris? Where we are taking a look at action lower down the table, as it were, because Mercedes has all but swarmed things up at the very top.
We'll definitely need to look further down the table in terms of competition because Red Bull and Mercedes have basically sewn up in terms of 1 and 2 in terms of the constructors' standings. But in third place, at the moment, we have Racing Point. Racing Point with Sergio Perez they have a good driver there. Renault's going to feel like they'll be able to take them on. At the moment, Racing Point has 120 points, Renault with 114. Daniel Ricciardo managing to get that podium finish for them, the first one in 5 years. I think that's given them a big boost of confidence and that they'll be able to match up whatever Racing Point is able to put up. McLaren as well in the mix. They're currently in 4th. So it's good going in 3rd, 4th and 5th position, but 1 and 2 are pretty much done.
Barry, when they talk about Daniel Ricciardo being a dark horse, his experience at Red Bull stands him in good stead because he's a man that's won before. He's competed at the top. You know, he's had scraps with Hamilton, with Vettel, with Max Verstappen. So he's an experienced driver. Perhaps he's probably better than the car he's driving.
Absolutely. And in truth, what he's getting out of that car is ridiculous. And in truth, Renault has no right to be getting the sort of output that they're getting out of Ricciardo's car. But it's thanks in no small part to the ability of Daniel Ricciardo. He has been knocking on the door at every single Grand Prix and with a vehicle that in truth, if we're looking at it, should be somewhere around about 7th, 8th. But he's getting a lot more output out of the Renault. They are pleased with what he's doing out there, and I think that he'll continue doing that. And again, it's because of the point you made. His experience, he's an aggressive driver on his day. He's a nice guy, but on the track, he can be quite aggressive. And we saw that at the Nürburgring, where he was actually now pushing for even a better finish than what he got, which is 3rd position.
Well, if you've been listening intently, you might have noticed that we haven't even mentioned Ferrari once in this entire conversation. But how can we? Their best placed driver, Charles Leclerc, is in 8th place, 63 points garnered so far. The 4-time world champion, Sebastian Vettel, 13th place, just 17 points. My goodness, he can't even match the total that you get for a race win. So it's been an absolutely abysmal season for Ferrari. That's why we are talking about the likes of Renault and Racing Point. Let's give you the drivers' standings. Lewis Hamilton is in 1st place, comfortable lead over Valtteri Bottas, his Mercedes teammate, who is on 161. Of course, Lewis Hamilton is on 230. Max Verstappen is 3rd. Daniel Ricciardo is 4th. And Sergio Perez is in 5th. And he drives for Racing Point. The constructors' standings, Mercedes all out in front, followed by Red Bull. And then there's that lovely little scrap that Chris was talking about. Racing Point on 120 points in 3rd, McLaren 116 points in 4th, and Renault 114 points in 5th. So 6 points separating 3, 4, and 5. Our next race is the Portugal Grand Prix, and it's on Sunday.
Z.
Let's go back to telling you about this great Mitsubishi. Now, improved traction when driving off-road by electing between the gravel, mud or snow, sand or rock settings. Simply press the electronic off-road assistance selector until the appropriate mode appears on the multi-information display. Engine output, transmission settings, and braking adjust accordingly to optimize the performance of the vehicle. The hill descent control on the Triton allows you to focus on steering along rough downhill terrain ahead without you having to manually apply the brakes, making downhill travel a lot safer.
The Mitsubishi is really well equipped for off-roading and should not be ignored. In fact, our Zimoco team took this rugged and reliable pickup off-road this weekend in the Umfurudzi National Park to test the off-road capabilities for ourselves. To say we were pleasantly surprised with the Mitsubishi Triton's capability off-road is a massive understatement.
Now, the Triton did not skip a beat up and down the steep inclines through uneven rocky gorges. This is hardly surprising with an approach angle of 31 degrees, departure angle of 29 degrees, ramp breakover angle of 25 degrees, and a lateral travel angle of 45 degrees. Now, if you weren't that great at maths and your eyes just blurred, just know this: the vehicle performs very, very well on angular terrain. With only some minor scratches on the bodywork, which is, of course, our body repair center will easily touch up and buff out, the Triton seamlessly sailed through the rough terrain and made us proud to have this incredible brand of double cab in our stable. It most certainly is as tough as they come.
Now, if you're sitting there and you're thinking this must be a load of hogwash from Barry, it can't possibly have done all those things. He's just throwing numbers and degrees all over the place. Well, I challenge you to nip over to our Zimoco Borodale showroom this weekend and you can test drive this awesome pickup for yourself. And whilst you're at it, we'll also make sure that you are able to get a refreshing Zimbarista iced coffee. Now, if you want a product brochure, why don't you just simply email us inquiries@zimoco.co.zw. That brochure will give you all the specs and all the info that you need to know about the Mitsubishi Triton.
The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimoco, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimoco, specialized service for special brands.
Hi, my name's Ryan Kens, Sunshine Tour professional golfer, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Only DSTV brings you the very best football action. Catch all the action from the most popular league in the world, the English Premier League, with some of the world's biggest stars in Sadio Mane, Harry Kane, Sergio Aguero, and Virgil van Dijk. Catch all the action on the brand new Super Sport Premier League channel on channel 223. We have the world's best football, only on DSTV.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
Around the World in 60 is proudly brought to you by DSTV. We'll start in London, where limited overs captain Eoin Morgan has said that England's players can withdraw from tours if they feel playing in biosecure bubbles during the COVID-19 pandemic will take a toll on their mental health. England hosted West Indies, Pakistan and Australia after cricket's restart in July, with the teams restricted to playing in Manchester and Southampton, where the ECB had set up bubbles. The Indian Premier League, where Eoin Morgan is currently captain of the Kolkata Knight Riders, has set up a bubble for players in the United Arab Emirates, and similar curbs on movement will be in place, with England expected to tour South Africa next month. In news from Dublin, Ireland will be able to resume their Six Nations campaign against Italy on Saturday after the Irish government exempted elite sport from new coronavirus rules. The country moved to the highest level of coronavirus restrictions for 6 weeks yesterday. Ireland's Six Nations clash with Italy became the first big coronavirus sporting casualty in the country in March, and the rearranged game was in doubt as the government's original framework called for a ban on elite sport under the top level. And in Basel, a push to rename Basel's main sports arena after local tennis superstar Roger Federer fell through after it failed to garner enough signatures. Hampered by the coronavirus pandemic, Federer fans fell 1,800 signatures short of the 3,000 required to trigger a local public vote on the proposal. But hopes that the St. Jacob Shala will be renamed the Roger Federer Arena are still burning despite the setback. St. Jacob Shala hosts the Swiss indoor men's tennis tournament, which reigning champion Federer won for the 10th time last year.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić, and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudence. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
Pinch me, the Champions League is already back. Hardly a few weeks ago we witnessed the final of the Champions League, but it's already back, and Mike will be leading us in a discussion around the Champions League a bit later on. But first, we're going to wrap up with a bit of business in England, and then in France, then we dive into the Champions League. Let's start in England, where Wolves snatched all 3 points against Leeds as Raul Jimenez's deflected second-half effort gave them a 1-0 victory at Ellen Road last night. An energetic Leeds dominated the first half, but failed to find an opener. The best chance, in fact, falling to Wolves' Daniel Podence, whose effort was saved by Ilan Melier, who had a fantastic game in that match. And Alois, you got to say that Leeds themselves had a great game. They played some nice stuff, but if you're not putting it in the back of the net, you're going to get punished, especially in the Premier League. And they were last night.
Yes, Barry, you're very right. Sometimes if you play well, it doesn't really matter much if you don't score goals. And we have known that Leeds are playing good football. They are playing very good pressure football. We saw how they played against Liverpool, and we still saw how they played in the playoffs as well. And they are one of the newly promoted teams that we actually believe that they are going to do well. But yesterday, like you say, they played well, didn't score. And finally, Wolves got their chance and scored. So that's all that matters in this league. You also need to score goals. When you play well, you need to convert your chances and win matches. So if you play well and you don't score, you might as well find yourself in the receiving end. And Leeds might just learn from that you know what, you need to play well and score goals as well, because at the end of the day, the points are the ones that count. You need points on the table, and you need to stay close to the top as much as possible, especially for the newly promoted sides, because when the crunch comes towards the end of the season, you need all the points that you amassed during the beginning of the season. So Leeds need to start collecting points, especially when they play against these mid-table teams and the teams below them.
You think to yourself, Chris, that there are no worries for Leeds United. I mean, Marcelo Bielsa has got them playing a brand of football that, in truth, it'll be very surprising to see them in a relegation dogfight. Yes, they're going to be unlucky like they were yesterday, but you got to think to yourself, this side will survive.
This side will definitely survive. It's going to be causing upsets continuously. I think what we saw yesterday was they played very good football the entire game. Like you said, just that lack of goals from their team is what obviously ended in this defeat for them. But if you take a look at that team, especially in the first half, they were absolutely relentless, and being able to dominate the game for large portions of it, I think just shows you the quality of the team. But all they need to work on possibly going forward is to get those goals.
Easy to talk about the vanquished, Mike, but we've got to talk about the victors, because in truth, Wolves' strategy, we knew what it would be. I think you actually stated it, that Wolves would play on, they're a counter-attacking team. They prefer to play that way. They've got speed when going forward, and they got their goal from a counter-attack. And in truth, their strategy worked, gave them all 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was another feather in the cap of Nuno Espirito Santo. He won the tactical battle versus Marcelo Bielsa. Leeds played the way that we know that they're always going to play. So they play a very high-intensity game. They press, high up the field. They even get the press going in midfield. So they're very relentless, very in possession and outside of possession. But Wolves, again, played the way that we expected them to play, which is that they'll concede possession. They'll let you have the ball ball in areas that they don't deem to be very dangerous. And so whilst Leeds may seemingly have dominated the game, they never actually got into positions where they would hurt Wolves. So Connor Cody and the likes of Saiss were relatively untroubled over the course of 90 minutes because they managed to keep Leeds to the flanks. So Leeds had to whip in the crosses, and there is no better side that is better at dealing with set pieces, dealing at crosses than Wolves. And then as the game wore on in the second half, Wolves began to play a bit. As Leeds began to get more and more desperate, began to throw in more and more numbers, Wolves got into the game, and it was hardly surprising that they were hit with a bit of a sucker punch, a bit of an unfortunate goal, because to be honest, I thought the shot was not going to trouble the keeper. I think it was going to be a comfortable save, but then that deflection of Phillips then wrong-footed the keeper completely, and Wolves walked away with 3 points. But it's just another typical Wolves performance, a side that is never beaten until the 90 minutes is done and the ref has blown the full-time whistle.
Yeah, if you're trying to cross the ball against Wolves with Connor Cody, as you say, and Willie Bowley, both players 6 foot plenty, you're not going to get any purchase out of them. A quick comment on Liverpool here. Now, their boss, Jurgen Klopp, says that Alisson is closing in on a return from injury after confirming that he started light ball work in training. That'll come as welcome news, Alois, to all Liverpool fans, indeed Liverpool squad as a whole, because they're decimated in defence by virtue of their 2 best players now being out. That's Alisson and, of course, Virgil van Dijk.
Yes, Bay, I think it's good news for all Liverpool fans if Alisson Becker is coming back. You know that Alisson Becker has been the pillar of strength at the back for Liverpool Football Club. We have talked about it. He's one goalkeeper that can actually give you at least 15 points a season. And for him to come back, it also steadies the ship as well. You know, they recently lost Van Dijk now, and it was actually a very, very big catastrophe for Liverpool. But for Alisson Becker to be coming back, I think it's actually a consolation. He can actually help with solidifying the defense as well. His organizational qualities as well are also key. No matter whether Van Dijk is not there or not, but that's the organization that Alisson brings to the Liverpool backline. I think it's actually comforting for Liverpool fans to actually know that Alisson Becker is coming back.
Yeah, Alois there quite rightly pointing out Virgil van Dijk is out, Naby Keita out, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is making progress but is still not available. Thiago Alcantara, there was a bit of fear after that Merseyside derby, but looks like he will be available for the forthcoming fixtures for Liverpool. But the good news is that Alisson Becker is making steady progress and could be back sooner than expected.
Neymar, Mbappé, Depay, and now Tino Kadewere enjoys the taste of the French football on a ZiFM Sport.
Of course, every Tuesday we bring you news out of France and specifically Ligue 1, where Tinotenda Kadewere dedicated his first goal in the league and to his late brother Prince, who passed away in August. Kadewere was delighted to score his first goal for Lyon in their 3-2 away win against Strasbourg at the Stade de Mineo to end their 5-game winless streak. Mike, obviously, Tino, very relieved in some ways to manage to get that goal. He's there to score goals and he's managing to do it. Hopefully he gets into a rhythm now.
Yeah, he got a start, his first start, and he delivered with the goal. It wasn't exactly a classical strike. I thought the goalkeeper could have done a lot better in keeping it out. But strikers will take goals, whichever way they come, and it will be a big monkey off his back. And I just love the way, if you saw the video of the goal, that the players came around him, celebrated with them. Memphis Depay was very animated, and he's the team leader. The big cat in the zoo. So it just shows you how much of a popular figure Tinotenda Kadewere is in the dressing room at Lyon. They're happy for him. The nation is rooting for him. And we hope that he can bring a bit of that goal-scoring form to Zimbabwe with the threat of Algeria in a few weeks' time.
Alois, Lyon hasn't had a great start to the season, but if Tino Kadewere is able to deliver for them over and over, and like Mike pointed out, he's become a popular figure in the dressing room, we could see him solidifying an actual career in Ligue 1 with this team.
Yeah, it was actually unfortunate that Gadewere joined Lyon at a time when they also started their also dismal page, and it's not good for a player to actually arrive at a team that is actually struggling. So we hope that now they've started winning, and now Tino has made a good start as well, starting 11, scoring a goal. I think this is actually good for the team, good for Tino. It's also good for Zimbabwe. Like Mike said, everybody's rooting behind that. The club loves him, the players love him, the Zimbabweans are rooting behind him as well. So this should actually be a spur that he needed to actually start to get going. We hope that this is a kick-on. This is actually what he needed to start his goal-scoring career at Lyon. They brought him to Lyon to score goals, and he was struggling, and unfortunately it was coinciding with the squad that was also struggling. Now that they're starting to win, we hope that Gadewere will be at the forefront of those wins as well, and we need that. And what a better time to actually start scoring for Lyon than for us here in Zimbabwe to start scoring just before the Algeria match. Everyone was already talking about Prince Dube starting the game ahead of everybody else, and we are happy that Gadewere has now started scoring because everybody is looking forward to Gadewere starting and being the frontman for the Warriors when we face Algeria. So with that kind of confidence, we hope that he will actually do well for Zimbabwe as well.
So goals for Lyon and goals for Zimbabwe. All we are waiting for on Twitter is that man of the match poll. We know what to do with it, Zimbabweans.
Hi, I'm Clemens Matau, chicken in midfielder. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
The most prestigious cup competition in world football returns tonight. Is the UEFA Champions League, and there are 8 fixtures in the offing tonight. Action in Group E, F, G, and H, but all eyes are on Paris, where there's a massive Champions League showdown that's awaiting. United have made the short trip into France to take on last season's Champions League finalists PSG, boasting the prodigious talents of Neymar and Kylian Mbappe. That is Group H action for you. They're joined in that group by Istanbul, Başakşehir, as well as RB Leipzig. But that match there, Barry, between PSG and United is the game that a lot of people will be tuning into tonight to see which way it goes. And United will have very fond memories of their last visit to Paris.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reverse is true for Paris Saint-Germain, because there'll be a bit of a revenge in the air, a tinge of revenge in the air. So those fond memories, I think, will sort of spur United on to say, look, it's a happy hunting ground for them. They hope that they can get a result out of Paris Saint-Germain. But in truth, this Paris Saint-Germain under Thomas Tuchel, with the players that they've got, is a different proposition altogether. It's going to be a tough one, a tough ask for a Manchester United side. It's low on confidence. It's struggling to find its way. Yes, good result at the weekend, but in truth, you want to see if that was a false dawn or they've actually found a way. So this one is all eyes on this match.
Well, United is going to be missing several players. Harry Maguire, their skipper, is not available. He's injured. Edinson Cavani, new signing, is not available. Mason Greenwood as well is amongst the 5 Manchester United players that have not been able to travel to Paris. What does it mean? It means that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer yesterday, somewhat surprisingly to the player himself, announced Bruno Fernandes as the captain for this evening encounter. Let's hear from Bruno, as well as the PSG midfielder and former Manchester United midfielder Ander Herrera.
When you play for a club as Manchester United, you always need to look for trophies. I don't know if we will win the Champions League or the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, but of course it's important for us and for all players winning trophies, and for have that mentality as Manchester United have, winning and winning. So I think it's important for us, for all the players. Of course, we have a lot of young players, and it will be good if we can achieve some trophies this season, of course, and we want to achieve these trophies.
Now is a game tomorrow, very important game for both. I have already said that this is a group that you can make many mistakes, because if you lose a game you are in trouble. So I think we will have more occasions to talk about not a match that we have tomorrow, and I will be pleased to talk with you in other time about that. But now it's a football match, and we have to think about football and about that beautiful game that we have to play tomorrow. Even though we are playing without fans, that makes it a little bit more difficult for everyone.
Alois, it's a dressing room that a lot of people have been crying out for leadership. A lot of people questioning Harry Maguire's leadership abilities. Well, those that suggested that Bruno Fernandes fitted the bill have been rewarded. We'll see how he does tonight as the skipper.
Yes, Mike, I think I'm one of the people as well that actually believe that Bruno Fernandes has got leadership qualities. He can actually be a captain. I thought he could actually be a captain when he arrived, even if it meant being a vice captain. But now that he has got the chance, we want to see what he can do. I just hope that there are no other players that were eyeing the captain's armband as well and start whispering behind closed doors and trying to divide the dressing room. But for now, let's see what he does. Let's hope that the team does well against PSG. Can acting as a captain. If he does well and we get it right, maybe we might just enjoy it when Maguire can actually have a prolonged time off the field. Because actually I'm not one of the fans. Sorry, guys.
That's a bit of a sneaky jibe at Harry Maguire there from Alois, saying that, well, if he's going to be out for a prolonged time. But Chris, Harry Maguire's absence posing something of a challenge for Ole. United's defense has not been at its best. Harry Maguire himself, he looked to come into some sort of form this past weekend versus Newcastle United, scored a goal and was dominant throughout. He's going to be missing. And if you take a look at the news as well, that Eric Bailly is missing through injury, then it leaves United a bit thin in central defence with Lindelof and perhaps the much maligned Phil Jones being the realistic prospects for selection in this game. And they're up against Neymar and Mbappe.
It sounds woeful. It sounds incredibly dangerous with the front two that you just mentioned. Those are two players who'd be able to run, first of all, the defense that includes Maguire and Bailly. They'd be able to run that defense ragged. We've been talking about it for a long time. United's defense needs work. So if you come against a team like PSG that's going to be capitalizing on that, then I think we might have a bit of an awkward scoreline towards the end there. Unless some sort of magic happens for United, I don't think this is going to be a good outing for them.
Okay, so Group H action, PSG versus United, RB Leipzig versus Istanbul Başakşehir. Group G is going to see Dynamo Kiev taking on Juventus, Barcelona versus Ferencvarosi. Those two games, probably games that not a lot of people are going to be keeping an eye on. Ronaldo missing for Juventus and Ferencvarosi, not exactly glamour opponents for Barcelona at the Camp Nou. But there's another big game, Barry. That game is in Group E. It sees Chelsea taking on Sevilla. And Cesar Azpilicueta, the club captain, is under no illusions about the challenge that is facing Chelsea versus Sevilla. You've got to say he's right.
Yeah, absolutely. This Sevilla side has got capability, Mike. Because they can play in different ways under Julen Lopetegui. We've seen them play on the front foot in certain games where they think they can take the game to their opponent. And then we've seen times when they are able to sit back, let you have the ball, and then on the break with the ability of the likes of Ocampos can destroy you going forward. And obviously the squad lineup of Sevilla won't certainly send shivers down anyone's spine. But as a team, they are scary. So I think that Cesar Azpilicueta is absolutely correct that they've got a mission on their hands. And I'm sure Frank Lampard knows exactly the same.
Chris, last season we gave Frank Lampard something of a free pass because there were all sorts of excuses that he could come up with. They were not allowed to sign new players. But with the investment that's been made by Roman Abramovich at Chelsea, well over 200 million, some of Europe's leading young stars brought in Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. He's got no excuses this time. So he looks like he's a manager under pressure. He's got to deliver.
He's got to deliver, and he's got to deliver well. I don't think that Abramovich would spend that kind of money on that many players, just first of all, to maintain their position in the Premier League and to challenge in the Premier League. But I think he's also expecting a very good return on his money in the Champions League itself. And Frank Lampard, coming against a side like Sevilla, I'm not sure what he's planning, but I think from a tactical perspective, like Barry said, we've seen them hurt teams in multiple ways. I'm not sure that tactically he'll be able to push this team through, especially coming against sides like this in Europe. If he's struggling a little bit in England, what of Europe?
Alois, what have you made of Frank Lampard tactically? Because there seem to be a lot of questions around his tactical acumen. Does he have in it? Can he compete just at that level with Europe's best coaches? Because you see often in the Champions League, it's not just about the player's ability, but it's also about the tactical acumen of the coaches that comes into play.
Yeah, Mike, I don't think he is up there yet. I think he is still a young coach who is still learning, and he still has to compete in Europe. Not now. Right now, I think what is going on for him is the money that was invested in Chelsea at the moment. He has got a good squad. This is a decent squad that can actually compete in Europe. He has to beat Sevilla, I don't know, but they are capable. He has got a good squad. I think that's what it is. But when you look at Chelsea playing at the moment, you don't really see the signature of the coach. I haven't seen it. We always talk about the signature. We want to see the signature. We want to go to every match and know that this is how Chelsea plays. At the moment, I haven't seen the signature. I haven't really put my finger on how exactly are Chelsea playing. They have got good players. They're playing good football. But the coach's end, I haven't really seen it. I think he still needs to develop and grow. For now, he is still a young coach who is still learning. And hopefully that he's going to develop into a very good coach, better coach, but he can't be competing in the top guns of European coaching system at the moment.
Okay, Group E action, Chelsea versus Sevilla at Stamford Bridge, and then Reims will take on Krasnodar, and then action will be completed with Group F action. Zenit St. Petersburg, the Russians take on Club Brugge, the Belgians, Italy's Lazio versus the Germans, Borussia Dortmund. Just enough time, guys, for a quick prediction. United versus PSG, Chris?
3-1 PSG.
3-1 PSG, Barry?
2-1, I would say, 2-0 for PSG.
Alois Munjira, do you see it differently? 2-2. That will be certainly a thriller if it's a 2-2 match. 4 goals in it. I am leaning towards Chris. I am going with a 3-1 for PSG.
So everyone except me for predicting that Manchester United is going to score a goal. I hope we scored a goal in the correct net this evening by delivering another crackerjack edition of ZiFM Sport. If we didn't, we'll make good tomorrow. Don't miss the show. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm good, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.